Okay, so a lot of you guys, when I was at leadership, I posted a comment on our Facebook page asking, what prevents you from getting to the next level? And there was a lot of talk about some of the fears you guys have. And I wanted to try and just talk a little bit about some of the fears that even I have and stuff that holds me back. And maybe we'll get into a little bit about what are some things that we can actively do to overcome some of those fears. So I wanted to talk about this picture. As you know, I got the opportunity to work out with Autumn, which is super awesome, but it terrified me. And we were sitting with her at dinner, and she looks over at Miguel and I, and she's like, "So you guys are gonna get on stage tomorrow, and you're gonna work out with me?" And I was like, "Oh no, Erin doesn't do that. That's way out of my comfort zone. I'm not at the best shape of my life, and to go in front of 200 people scared the crap out of me." And I thought of every excuse in the book as to why I wouldn't do it. I thought, oh, maybe I'll get sick or like something else like that. And I realized there was one point where I realized I'm like, I can't back out of this. I really have to do this. And so I used the reason. I said, well, maybe if I modify. And she was totally cool with that. And I was like, okay, that's my out. So if I can't do the entire move for the entire time she's going to kill us, I can modify and still save myself and not look like a fool in front of 200 people. And so the next day, the launch event happens. We're sitting in the audience, and I'm like, oh, okay, it's getting almost time for the workout. So, I'm having like sweats and like heart palpitations. I'm like, I really just don't want to do this. So I took some E&E because I needed some liquid courage. And that wasn't the alcohol type, because you can't really work out when you're drinking alcohol because it just doesn't really work that well. So I took lots of E&E, and everyone was like, okay, it's time to go on the stage. And so we're on the stage, and I'm like, I want to throw up. It was horrible. Like, it was absolutely horrible. But where am I going with this? I'm very glad I did it. And what I noticed, and I'll be honest, I noticed that most people weren't even looking at me. I wasn't the star of the show. It was Autumn, right? So I'm like, okay, everyone's watching Autumn. Perfect. And it was an amazing experience to do. And I didn't do too bad. I didn't modify everything, but there were times that I modified. And I did the entire workout, and I wanted to die afterwards because she really, really pushed us really hard. But after the workout, people came up to me and they congratulated me. I wasn't expecting that, because I'm like, you just worked out too, right? But they said, they were saying such nice things, and they were really supportive. And it blew my mind that someone was actually paying attention to me and was congratulating me. So I think a lot of the fears that I had about being in front of so many people and just having that stage fright almost, it was all in my head. And to be able to go and do that and have this once in a lifetime opportunity was just really, really cool. So these reasons that I have here on the screen that you guys, didn't want to get to, you were scared to get to the next level because you're scared of falling flat on your face. You're not being able to get others to see the vision of Beachbody. Don't feel successful. I don't feel successful enough to inspire others in that regard. Self-doubt, not feeling confident enough to lead a larger team, feeling like I'm getting nowhere even though I put 100% plus effort, and fear of being constantly told no, and people not seeing past a dollar sign. And I'm going to tell you right now that all of these fears are in your head, and it's all something that we can all work on. And if a lot of you guys are relating with some of these fears, you know that it's not just you. So we're going to go to the next slide. And I'm going to talk about the fear of success, because a lot of times people, they have these fears and they think it's one thing. And when I'm reading through a lot of that, it just sounds like you guys are scared to succeed. And I mean, it's a very common fear. And it's funny because you're like, well, why would I be scared to succeed? So I want to talk to you about some of the things that people who are fearful of success actually do. So listen to these points and see if you can identify yourself with any of these points. You don't complete your projects. So this could be at work or at home. You talk about what you're going to do more than what you actually do. You work furiously on several projects all at once, and you're not actually focusing deeply on one thing. You second guess yourself all the time. Distraction is your middle name. And you don't think that your work is ever quite good enough. The big giveaway to see if you're fearful of success is that you might be on the verge of success and things start going really, really wrong. So these are all really common things, and I can identify with a lot of these. So even when you see people who are very successful in this business, there's always going to be that little voice in their head that makes them doubt themselves. So if you feel this way, know that it's totally normal. But there's things that we can do to help fight that. So I want to also talk about what causes these fears, because until we understand the background of what causes the fears in us, we can't actually attack them. So sometimes we fear that if we're successful, we're already busy enough as it is right now. We can't imagine the extra responsibilities or the criticism that we might face if we could become more successful. Sometimes we fear that our relationships will suffer if we become successful. You know, a lot of you are moms, or if you're in a relationship and you're trying to do Beachbody and you're trying to work and you're trying to do all these things, and sometimes we worry that if we succeed, all those other things are going to go even worse. Sometimes we fear that our friends and family will actually react with jealousy and cynicism, and that we'll lose the ones we love. I know that when I first started Beachbody, I was so scared to post on Facebook that I was a coach because I didn't want anyone to say anything negative. And I know that a lot of people can relate with that. But sometimes we fear that accomplishing our goals and realizing that we have the power to be successful may actually cause an intense regret that we didn't actually do this sooner. One thing I'll say about that, I did not get my driver's license until I was 25. I had just had my first son. He was 9 months old. And I was scared. I had my beginners early when I was 15. I did the whole driver's ed thing, but we didn't have a car, so I didn't take my test. And then over the years, I became scared to drive. And I put all this fear in my head that I couldn't do it. And then I would look at all these people who were younger than me, and they were getting their license, and it was driving me crazy. And I'm like, okay, I just got to do it. I can't depend on people anymore because now I have someone I'm responsible for. Kind of like when you're a coach and you get a coach, you're kind of responsible for them. And so I wanted to do this. So I did it. I took lessons again, and I took the test with the guy's car, and I passed. And I thought, oh, I waited all this time, and it was so easy for me at that point. But I had put all these barriers up in front of me that I couldn't do it because it was too hard. So I just felt horrible that I didn't do it sooner. So that's another reason about why there's always those things in the background that cause that fear of success. How do you overcome fear of success? This is an exercise, and I'm going to post in our team page after this. It's not something I want you to do right now because you can read these questions and you can answer them in 2 seconds, but I don't want you to answer them in 2 seconds. There's a whole bunch of ways to overcome fear of success. The good news is the more you face your fears and bring them to the surface and analyze them rationally, the more likely you're to weaken the fears and dramatically reduce your reluctance to achieve your goals. So I want to say that one more time. The more you face your fears and analyze them rationally, the more you are likely to weaken those fears and dramatically reduce your reluctance to achieve your goals. So take a realistic look at what will happen if you succeed with your goal. Whatever that goal would be, it might be weight loss, it might be hitting emerald, it might be hitting diamond, it might be starting a challenge group or posting your transformation on Facebook. Whatever your goals are, I want you to not, like what's going to happen if you actually succeed? Don't look at what you hope will happen or what you fear will happen. Look at what is likely to happen. So I'm going to post this in our team page, and I want you to actually take this list, and you don't have to post it, but I want you to answer each of these questions, and I want you to, oh, we scrolled here, sorry. I want you to answer each of these questions in detail. So don't skim over it. Don't just say, well, so if I say, how will it change my life? I'll make more money. Like that's not good enough. I want you to actually like dig into each of these questions, and this is for yourself so that you can actually go through this and start to overcome some of your fears. So I also want you to kind of look at it this way, like how will your friends and family react if you accomplish these goals? How will your life change? What is the worst that could happen if you achieve this goal? What's the best thing that can happen? And why do I feel that I don't deserve this accomplishment? How motivated are you to work towards these goals? And how can you stop these self-sabotaging behaviors? Often when we look at weight loss, and I know some people, whether it's the last 10 pounds, whether you're starting your weight loss journey, and it's just so easy to go back to the life that we were living before we started living a healthier lifestyle. It is so easy to fall back into those routines. Why do we sabotage ourselves? It's a good question to ask yourself. I want you guys, it's one of the most important things that we can do. We have to stop talking negatively to yourself. If you look at this picture with this girl, and I love this saying, if you had a friend who spoke to you in the same way that you sometimes speak to yourself, how long would you allow that person in your life? If you have people in your life who speak to you negatively, I highly encourage you to get rid of them because they don't do anything to help you grow and move forward. I want you to think about your past for a minute. How has it formed your present? Sometimes others' choices have had a negative effect on us, whether it's a parent not being supportive of whatever your goals are, whether it's a spouse not having any luck with weight loss. And sometimes those things in our past can imprint us for the future. Sometimes our past we've been taken advantage of, and we've had to deal with feelings of shame and feelings of guilt and feeling like sometimes we don't measure up. And all of these things, there are self-talk, that little voice inside your head that says, don't stop, keep going, or you can't do this and you're going to fail. There's a big choice. You either decide you're going to do it or decide you can't do it. And either way, you're right. That's the power that your mind has over everything. So I just want you to think about those less than happy events in your life. And I want you to know that it's not the end of your story. And it doesn't define you. Because I know that there are things in my life that have affected me. And if I were to let them rule my life, I wouldn't be a very happy person. So I want you just to consider this for just 1 minute. Imagine that you are a masterpiece and that you are the right nationality, the right religion, the right person, the right gender. You were made the right way. You were a complete masterpiece. And when you were made, your creator stepped back and said, wow, you're a masterpiece. That you were programmed to be successful and free and victorious in your life. But the reason that we don't see that sometimes is because we allow viruses to contaminate our hard drive. Yeah, I'm going to talk in computer terms today. Sometimes viruses appear like, I'm not talented. I'll never be successful. I'll never make it to diamond because I'm not a leader. And when our software is infected, we go around with low self-esteem, depression, negativity, and just not believing that our true potential is as high as it really is. But here's the good news, guys. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not a mistake. The problem is your software. I want you to start dwelling on the positive things, that you're valuable, that you're victorious, and that you're capable of so many great things like leading. So what's the best thing that you can do? The best thing that we can do to overcome our fear is to delete those negative messages that we've been holding on to in our brain, that we have learned to believe about ourselves that just aren't true. And I want you to daily reaffirm yourself with positive reinforcement. Whether you write it out, once you do this exercise and you write it out and you put it somewhere where you can see it every day, or you have it on your iPad and you can view it every day, I want you to realize that you can reprogram your mind. And last but not least, I want you guys to remember that the people who limit you, who put holds on you and tell you you can't do it, guess what? They don't define your destiny unless you let them. It's not because you can't that you won't succeed. It's because you believe that you can't. So clear out all the negative things in your life, whether it's a coworker or a friend or someone who just says that you're not strong enough to do it. Because when we surround ourselves with negative people, it sucks the life out of us. And there's no reason to have that in your life. If you think you're not talented, you'll never have the confidence to lead. If you think that you can't lead change, you're putting that limitation on yourself. And it's not that you can't go further, it's just that you convinced yourself that you can't. If your thinking is limited, your life is limited. And that's not the way that we live as Beachbody coaches. Just remember, guys, it's the last thing I want to say, that you're not who people say you are. It's you who say who you are. And you're destined to do great, great things and to leave a mark on this world. I wanted to keep this short tonight. I know that everyone's got really busy lives, but I think that it's really important to look at our own lives and what holds us back. It doesn't have to be that everyone wants to be a diamond leader or everyone wants to do this. It can be other areas of your life that you feel are holding you back. So I will post in our team page all those questions and how we should look at each of those questions. And it's a great exercise for you guys to do, to kind of analyze your life and how it's going, and hopefully it can start to combat some of those fears. And a lot of times when I don't want to do things, like get up on stage and like work out in front of a whole bunch of people, or get on the phone and talk to someone that I really don't want to do it, you know what I do? I just do it. I know it sounds so simple, but the more we just do instead of procrastinate, instead of finding a way to not do it, the easier it will become. That's what they tell me. I keep hearing that it's going to get easier and easier the more times I get on the phone, even though I don't like doing it. But I'm going to keep doing it anyways. So guys, that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for coming on this call. And I would love to hear, even if it's individual messages afterwards, what you thought of the exercise and if it's helped you. So until next time, guys, have a good one.